Live from the Julius Arthur Leonard Studios in Charlotte, North Carolina, it's TC at Home, presented by Theater Charlotte. I'm your host, Chris Timmons. Welcome to another in-depth look at Quarantine the Musical with our guests, Geof Knight and Atticus Ware. Kind of a Theater Charlotte reunion from Oliver last fall. Hard to believe it's been almost a year since that show happened. In case you missed it, last week we had our first look at Quarantine the Musical with our guests Vito Abate and Jen Grabenstetter, so be sure to check that out. If you missed any previous episodes of TC at Home or any of our virtual programming, you can find those anytime on our Facebook page. We also have a special week of programming coming up this week as we will be celebrating Cat Week, and more about that in just a little bit. So hang on to the end of the broadcast and we'll let you know what that's all about. First, I want to bring in a familiar face for those of you who are keeping up with Theater Charlotte's Isolation Radio Hour. Let's welcome into the studio, Geof Knight. Hey, Geof.
Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Can't complain.
I feel like I'm on the wrong end of the studio here. I feel like you should be sitting over here asking me questions. So for the rest of the time, I'm just going to sit back and let you interview yourself. How's that?
The answers and the questions may be even scarier. I don't know if you want to do that.
So for those of you who don't know, Geof works in radio. It's 96.9, right? The Cat?
That's correct. Very nice.
And also has a podcast titled Break a Leg Charlotte. Geof, tell us a little bit about those two endeavors of yours. And I'm sort of curious if any of those, if your work has changed at all during all of this, the shutdown and the quarantine.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, the radio business, at least for me, because I'm on the air with the morning show, but I'm also the behind the scenes person that makes sure everything operates, not like you do, Chris. That really, it's changed in that I'm busier than ever before. And it's because the rest of our show is doing the proper thing and they're broadcasting from their houses. So we have a setup a lot like what you use for this platform here, and they dial into the station from where they are every day. My alarm still goes off at 3:30 every morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
You're starting the show a couple hours earlier.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay. You're fine. You're fine. I'm used to it by now. But no, I go to the radio station. I pull all the news and information they need. I send it to them. They dial in, and we have a video thing that we can see each other. But they're broadcasting from their individual houses. Their audio comes to the station. If it's real complicated, then I'll put it together ahead of time, and we stay on the air longer because of everything that's going on. We're normally obviously music focused station and be entertaining, but we're trying to, be responsible media this time and do everything that we can. So that side of things has been busier. Unfortunately, the Break a Leg Charlotte podcast has kind of been on hold for a while. And that's just because, quite frankly, I don't know what to do with it currently. I've seen great things like what Zachary's been doing with the quarantine musical thing. That's been fantastic. And I just an all audio version. Plus, I can't have people in the studio because of everything that's going on. So it's just kind of on hold for a while, but it'll be coming back when things open up.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a great way to showcase what's going on in Charlotte, live performance. And hopefully, yes, there's been a lot of talk about how we sort of bridge the gap until we get to, occupying our building again. And so hopefully we'll see maybe here in a few weeks or a month or so, we'll start seeing some live performances, obviously for smaller groups and scaled back, but and hopefully we'll be able to showcase some of that on your podcast as well.
Hey, I'm happy. Come on. I'll set you guys up. Anything you need.
So tell us, how did you get into the performing arts?
Oh, wow. I don't know. I even as a youngster, maybe the age of Atticus, I've always been somebody who wanted to perform and entertain. I was in marching band in high school and didn't do anything with it in college. I was in a play in college, but then got married, had kids, and kind of got out of it for a while. And then the kids kind of got me back into it. And I guess 8 or 9 years ago, I got back in. And since then, the light has been relit. And I don't think I've missed many shows since then.
That's great. I don't know how it's taking Theater Charlotte so long to pull you into the family. You've got quite a resume around town. It's
It's been fun. It's been interesting. It's been a destination that you want to get to. I mean, it's Theater Charlotte. The history there is just unbelievable. And I've auditioned there a few times, but it's not easy to get in. But I mean, that should go to show maybe some of your viewers or listeners or whatever. You got to keep trying, man. When the right thing happens, it happens.
yeah, there's a lot of great, and I'm sure everybody says this, but there's a lot of great talent in Charlotte. And what's interesting about obviously Theater Charlotte and even the Charlotte community is these are people who, like yourself, have day jobs who you hear on the radio, or there's instances of somebody who's a dentist who comes in and does a show. People, your barber might be on stage. It's that's kind of what makes, I think, what we do interesting. Tell us a little bit about your family and how that has changed being under one roof during quarantine. I guess if, you get a chance, you get to go out to the studio, but tell us how that's been for you guys.
Yeah, I kind of feel better for them because they're kind of stuck together somewhat, and I still get to leave and go to work every day. But it's been interesting. My wife works in a local school system. She's a principal. So her world's really been completely turned upside down because she's getting questions, obviously, from the teachers and other administrators, as well as all the parents and the kids as well. But she's handling that like a champ. My oldest daughter, she has stayed up near Western Carolina. When she's not in school, she's been working at a daycare center. And it's one that has been asked to stay open for all the first responders kids and things like that. So she stayed up there and worked there, which I applaud her for that. Youngest daughter, she's been home finishing her junior year of college, and that's been fun. Just going through all the stuff that she goes through between all of her homework and tests and stuff like that, which there's some really interesting courses you take in college nowadays. It's changed it's you and I. But they've been doing pretty good. The nice thing is it's been a lot more together time, sitting around the old dinner table, which is always a nice thing to do. Still going out on occasion and supporting our restaurants with takeout and stuff like that. But the together time, for me anyway, has really been nice.
Yeah, that's great. So you've had an opportunity to play some great characters. Harold Hill, the Captain Von Trapp, Black Stash. Are there any shows out there at this point? Any roles that are on your bucket list that you'd like to do?
The next one. No, it's funny. It's there's a couple out there that you always want to do that either the timing's not right or what have you. But one that hasn't shown up yet, and I don't think it will in time for me to play it. I think I'll be too old once it gets to the regional community level. Would be The Greatest Showman. That to me would just be, that's the one now. I mean, I know it's obviously not on stage yet anywhere, but I hope I can stay young until that happens. But I don't think so.
You're as young as you feel, right? Is that
exactly?
So you've obviously you've been helping us out with our virtual programming, the Isolation Radio Hour, which has been awesome. You were able to play Jack Webb last week, which I had to. For those of you who maybe aren't familiar with the show, Jackie and I are in our studio and we're doing some of the sound effects for the show, and some of those are done live and some of them are recorded. But our microphone is open the whole time, so it's all we can do to not react to. And we don't rehearse in advance. So when we click the Dragnet theme and we start the episode, and then you come on, and it's like I was all I could do to not react.
It's a lot of fun doing those, and it really is, because being a radio person, doing these old radio things is just great, because it goes back to what I've been doing for the last 25 years or so, and that's expressing everything really with just your mouth. I mean, the facial expressions don't matter. It's been a lot of fun playing the different characters that I've played each week that I've done this with you guys.
Did you I have to be careful. I don't want to age you.
Oh, that's fine. Doesn't bother me. You're fine.
I mean, were any of these radio shows that you were familiar with? Obviously they're probably not ones. Ron and I have talked about this, and many of them are shows that he grew up with listening to.
Sure.
As a child. And for me, I'm kind of old fashioned. So I'm familiar with them as well. But, for you, I mean, did you know some of these shows, or are you doing research before you come on and listening to some of these old broadcasts?
I have been familiar with some of them, but not that we sat around the radio and listened, every whatever night it was on, brought to you by Local Teen and that kind of thing. But very familiar with the stuff because it was still popular through pop culture, things like Dragnet and things like that. Once it became a TV series, somewhat familiar, but maybe not as much as our friend Ron.
Right. Okay. So have you picked up any, or it sounds like you probably haven't even had time to pick up any hobbies or any other little, some people have been reading more, or they've been doing this more or that, but obviously with work, maybe that's not the case that you've had an opportunity to do any of that.
I have actually picked up a hobby, and I don't know, it's a newer thing. I don't know if anybody knows about it. I think the kids may know a little bit about it, but it's called Netflix. That's been the one lately. Yeah. A lot of Netflix in our lives, I think, especially with the kids home.
Any favorite shows you care to share with us?
Let's see. We caught up. Schitt's Creek is one that's very popular. We caught up on that. That's very funny. Some great acting in that. And now we're watching Vampire Diaries, which is
nice.
There's a lot going on there, but it keeps you active. You have to stay awake and pay attention to what's going on. So
yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? It's all kind of the same that we do. It's the arts. It's people performing and doing things to entertain us, and so it's been fun.
Absolutely. I find myself watching some of these shows and sort of out of context with where we are now in this period of time, going, "Whoa, you're too close to that person." And we sort of lose track of focus, and it's sort of interesting how you think about things now.
Exactly.
So what inspired you to audition for Quarantine the Musical? Were you challenged?
You know what? I was challenged. Did I forget who challenged me? It might have been Ron Law. I don't remember. But I'm not. I never stepped down from a challenge, especially from one of my theater friends. And it reached out to me. It was I had already had the taste of being on stage at Theater Charlotte. I thought, you know what? Let me try out or audition for another show, and everything worked out great. I had an audition piece that I put together based on the show that I did there previously when I was Fagin and Oliver, and just kind of had some fun with that. I'm not exactly going to knock out every note of a song and be the most operatic singer you've ever heard, but I find I make up for that in the character voices and in the comedy part that usually goes with it. And so that's what I stuck with for my audition piece.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit before we get into that. Tell us about your role in Quarantine the Musical. You play Dr. M.T. Shelf. Tell us a little bit about him.
It's interesting in researching the character, and anytime you go into a role, sometimes you want to see how other people have played the role, and sometimes you want to see what other people of that genre like. So in this case, I'm watching doctor shows to see how doctors act, because you want to bring some realism to it as well. But to me, the favorite one, and I don't know if a lot of people know about this, was the off-Broadway version of Quarantine the Musical that Hugh Jackman played Dr. M.T. Shelf in. And his stuff has been inspiring to watch. My favorite thing, I don't want to give too much away, is the part in the second act that we've been rehearsing, where Dr. M.T. Shelf has that song he does, that solo song, and it's called "Me and My Stethoscope," and it's just a hilarious number. I can't wait for everybody to see it. I don't want to say too much, but I will say that Ron Chisholm's been giving me tap dance lessons to help me catch up to really, really knock this one out of the park. So I can't wait.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm going to step aside for a second. We're going to see your audition piece from Quarantine the Musical. So I'm going to step aside and let you knock our socks off.
All right. I can, but thank you. All right. It wasn't a long audition piece. If you've ever seen the show Oliver or what Fagin does, his signature song is called "Reviewing the Situation," and all I did was kind of tie that into all the quarantine stuff that was going on, because it makes somewhat sense, reviewing the situation. I don't remember all of it, to be honest, from the audition piece. This is going to be real short. But first of all, you've got to talk like Fagin and say things Fagin would say, like, "Hello, my darlings. How are you?" And then he started off with, "A man's got to sneeze, hasn't he? Into your elbow, please, just like me." And then there's a couple of lines here that I don't remember at all. But as long as you get to the next part, that's really all that matters. And then he'd pick back up with, "I'm reviewing the situation. I can't find no toilet paper in the store. It's a good thing I'm constipated, or you might see me just scooting across the floor. And that's really all I did. And somehow that got me the part in Quarantine the Musical. So I was very tickled about that and excited. And it also goes to show you that if you don't have a fantastic audition piece, just do it with 100% gusto, and you never know what's going to happen.
Some excellent advice for our young friends. Here's a little note from Addison saying that Hugh was originally cast as Stinky Rob, who Rob Addison is playing. He got him for it, and he won. So there you go. I remember one of my favorite things. It's so strange, but the hand gestures from your song is just one of those things that I remembered. I honed in on. Was that something that you?
No, that was 100% Lisa. 100% Lisa. Well, yeah, when Lisa Blanton said, "This is what we're going to do," and I'd like to see some hand gestures here and some different things. And it's when you first try to do it, it's like trying to pat your head and you're thinking all at the same time. Right. But once you put it all together, it was really a nice touch, I thought, and amazingly that you picked up on that, because that was some of the stuff that really got nice reactions from the audience too. So yeah, nice job, Lisa.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to put you backstage for a minute. We're going to talk to your co-star in that show.
Yes.
Atticus. Atticus, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Great. So I want to start by having you walk us through your journey since last year. So last fall, you were Oliver in Oliver at Theater Charlotte. Yeah. And then a lot of things changed in your life. Talk us through that.
So I was at gymnastics class, and after the class, my mom came up to me and said, "We're flying to New York tomorrow for an audition." I was like, okay. We packed that night. We flew the next morning, and I auditioned the next day. And we did tap number and singing. And then I got called back, and then I got called back again, and then I got a workshop. So that was fun. And then I did one workshop in November and one in December. And then they cast me for the role, and that was just amazing.
Tell us about your role. Tell us what role we were talking about and what show.
So
those that may not know.
Sunset. Yeah.
Sunset. Okay.
Sunset, and I actually don't think I'm allowed to tell you really anything else. Oh. But
that's fine.
It's for fun.
All right, we'll just
at the Lincoln Center Theater on Broadway. So.
Excellent. So with the show on pause, as most shows are right now, how are you staying in show form? Are you in the company having meetings or sort of virtual rehearsals? Do you have, how are you staying in shape and acting shape?
So for company meetings, we actually do have company meetings every other week, but they aren't exactly for rehearsals. We mainly just catch up and drink. My mom actually made me a non-alcoholic gin and tonic last time, so
thanks for the clarification.
But me and James Lapine, the writer and director of the show, we have a weekly plank. So we get on, we talk a little bit, and then we do a 2-minute plank, and then Mm-hmm. So, but also I'm practicing my dancing and my singing and my acting. So, yeah.
Cool. What's the biggest difference between what you were doing professionally and your experiences in Charlotte?
Well, there's a lot more roles for the professionally, and it's a bigger budget, so that's nice. But honestly, it's not very different. It's a bunch of people doing what they love. Yeah, It's not much different.
Excellent. How are you juggling all of your work now and being a student at the same time? How do you manage all of that?
Well, I try to get in 3 hours of schoolwork a day, but then I have like a list where like I start with 2.5 hours of schoolwork, like at 9 usually. Sometimes I wake up later though, so you know. And then I do stretching, strengthening. Then I do some tap, other dancing, and yeah. So I try to keep by a list.
Good. So you keep a pretty strict regimen. Excellent. So tell us a little bit about your role in Quarantine the Musical. You play Oliver T. Peagone, another Oliver. Tell us a little bit about this character.
Well, as you could see from my bio, I love anything that has to do with indoor plumbing. And my past roles, not all of them use toilet paper. Like, usually I'm playing monkeys, street urchins. I was a crocodile once. But I think this is the first character that I can really relate to. And, you know, selling toilet paper on the black market.
Are you telling us you sell toilet paper on the black market?
I sell toilet paper on the black market in the show, so that it's really funny. And I'm the doctor's apprentice. So yeah, it's a hilarious show. Everybody watching should definitely come see it.
Excellent. All right, so you're going to perform your audition piece for us, right? From Quarantine the Musical. Tell us a little bit about this. Why did you choose the song? And did somebody challenge you? How did you get involved in all of this?
Okay, yes. So Kate Sakamoto nominated me for this challenge. And when me and my mom saw it, we thought that this would really be a really fun thing to do. So we started looking through songs and we found whatever Lola Wants from Damn Yankees. So we changed that to Whatever Rona Wants. And from the hit Broadway show Darn Hankies. So yeah, I'm going to be singing Whatever Rona Wants from Darn Hankies.
All right, I'm going to step aside and let you get to it. Here's Atticus Ware, everyone.
Whatever Rona wants, Rona gets. And little man, the corona wants you. If you hang out with friends, you'll regret. Confine yourself or find your health is through. Droplets get what I aim for. Believe the doctors or you're done for. Whatever Rona wants, Rona gets. Take off your mask, touch your face, and I'm in. You're no exception to the rule. I'm irresistible, you fool. I'm in.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, I'm going to bring on your fellow castmate from Oliver. Here's Geof.
Hello, puppet.
Hello.
As I mentioned, these two were starred in Oliver at Theater Charlotte almost a year ago. Hard to believe. Atticus as Oliver, Geof as Fagin. Geof, I want to start with you. Talk about your experience playing Fagin. What made him such an interesting character for you?
Oh, wow. I absolutely love characters that I can just get lost in. I mean, like the second I'm in this character, I don't exist anymore. I mean, I know that's the way you should feel about every role that you play, but ones where I get to physically transform, vocally transform, anything. It just those are my absolute favorites. So when this opportunity presented itself, it was just it turned into a dream role. I mean, it wasn't at first. You know, Oliver's a great show. Fagin's a great character. It wasn't one that all my life I'm like, I can't wait to grow up and play Fagin. But it is certainly one that I love, and I love playing against Atticus. Atticus, you are a professional, my friend. I mean, you only knew how wise beyond your years. You and your sister both, because I've done shows with your sister too. Oh, Jeannie. I'd say little Jeannie, but she's not so little anymore. She's a high schooler. But Atticus is just so professional on stage. Even little moments that we have that maybe the audience didn't see because something else is going on, or Atticus's back is to the audience. He makes these great faces at you while you're performing. I love that stuff. But truly, you are a professional, Atticus, and I truly enjoyed sharing it with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you can tell a lot too about how you carry yourself when you're not on stage as well. That certainly translates and says a lot, just to have that personality and persona about you. Atticus, tell us a little bit about Oliver. Was there something that you found difficult about playing that character?
Well, I was very busy during the show. I think there was like one chunk where I wasn't in much of, and it was like the very beginning of Act 2. But then for pretty much the rest of the show, I was on stage. So, but don't get me wrong, I love being busy during the show. But let's see. Yeah.
Do you feel like Oliver, is there anything that you could relate to as far as that character?
I don't know. I mean,
that's all right.
Sorry.
Do you have, okay, so you're obvious. Let's ask you the question we asked Geof a little bit earlier, which is, do you have any dream roles? Are there any roles that you are just itching to play?
Dream roles.
And you've had a lot of good ones too in your young career.
Yeah. I've always thought that playing Gavroche and Les Mis would be cool. Let's see. What other dream roles? Oh yeah, when I'm older, I want to play the genie. I just thought that would be a really fun role to play, like in Aladdin. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so my last question for each of you, do you have a favorite moment from Oliver that you would like to share, either on stage, backstage, during the rehearsal process, just a sort of a moment that was special from that show?
Atticus, you can go first if you like.
All right. My favorite moment was every night when it was during You've Got to Pick a Pocket or Two, and my back was to the audience and I was facing them. I would always make funny faces and try to make them laugh.
Did you know that, Geof?
Oh yeah. It was always a highlight. It truly was.
All right, Geof, what about you, Geof?
Oh wow. Well, that was definitely one of them. I told you about that a few minutes ago. But I think oh gosh, when we get the whole company together before you go out on stage every night, to see the energy that everybody had, ready to perform. We're so excited to put the show on for you. And then when we did vocal warm-ups, we got to the point to where, and I know this was frustrating for sound people, that we would choose different songs to perform during warm-ups. And Atticus, by the way, your repertoire of music, not just in musical theater, but everywhere, is impressive, my friend. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I know it drives the sound folks crazy, but I certainly enjoy that too. That's become kind of I don't know at what point in the process that happens. I feel like maybe after the maybe first or second night, we start hearing other songs.
Well, some of it now is Ron Law's fault, if I'm being honest. He'd go, "Hey, it's Disney night. Everybody pick a Disney song." Or
I remember that.
It was Ron's fault.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe he can run sound for the next show. All right. Well, listen, it's been great having both of you on. Atticus, all the best to you. You've got a lot of fans, a lot of comments here. Geof, again, a pleasure. It's been great working with you, virtually, but even better when we can get back in, do some live stuff here soon, hopefully.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Atticus, I'm very proud of you, my friend. You're doing wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Good to see
Take
you.
care. Night.
Bye.
Atticus Ware and Geof Knight. Thank you both. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we are kicking off Cat Week on Tuesday. No, it's not a celebration of cats or felines. Instead, we are devoting all of our virtual programming to the cast and production team of Theater Charlotte's Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, as a way of showcasing what an amazing team of performers and artists that weren't able to bring that show to a live audience. We hope that you will tune in all week and help us celebrate those folks. Be sure to tune in live so that we can post your comments and questions in real time with those cast members. We kick off the week on Tuesday at 4 o'clock with our TC Teachables with our guest artist, Chelsea Redelick, who was our costume designer for Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. On Wednesday at 7:30, we have a special Isolation Radio Hour production of Jane Eyre, starring members of the Cat cast. Next Sunday on this show, we will sit down with our Brick, Maggie, Big Mama, and Big Daddy on TC at Home at 7 o'clock. And we will close out our Cat Week on Tuesday, June 16th at 4 p.m. with director Dennis Delamar. Again, tune in live if you can so we can share your questions and comments with our Cat team in real time. And that's going to do it for this edition of TC at Home. Folks, there are a lot of people in this country right now and in our world who are hurting right now. You, me, us, together, we can make a difference. Reach out to someone in need of support and make your voice heard.
It's just telling us it's time to wake up. That's right. Lincoln, the America of community and compassion, protest and tolerance, the America of safety and sanctuary. Dr. King tells us to wake up.